So your boss just bought this Puppet thing, and you've now been tasked with puppetizing your infrastructure. What do you do, and where can you go for help? This is exactly the situation that I found myself in about a year ago. New job, new tools, and I had no idea how to use any of them. I'd actually never even heard of Puppet. So what did I do? I turned to the community and to the documentation. And the one thing that really stuck to me is you're not alone. Today we're going to talk about the history of the Puppet community, current resources, and the future of the Puppet community. Back when I was getting started with Puppet, the main resources available were IRC, mailing lists, some very sparse documentation, and the Learning Puppet series. IRC is an internet relay chat. It's great for real-time collaboration. Mailing lists are email-based, a little bit slower. The documentation, unfortunately, a lot of it was simply coming soon, which is not very helpful. The Learning Puppet series was very helpful. It's a tutorial, shows you how to get started with Puppet, has a VM that you can run so you can blow things up safely without your boss yelling at you for taking down production. And then we have our current state of things. One of the new tools that we have available for the community is the Ask Q&A site. People post questions, community members answer them. It's designed for questions that have a distinct answer rather than like discussion-based questions. It's been growing very quickly. Currently, as of this morning, there's 537 questions that have been asked, and about half of them are listed as unanswered, but that's mostly because the people haven't gone back and said this is the right answer. Ones that actually don't have answers, there's only about 20 to 80, depending on the volume of people that have been able to get back to them. The documentation has been greatly rewritten and extended. The higher documentation in particular is one that actually exists now. For a long time, 90% of it was simply coming soon. We also have our mailing lists, which are hosted on Google using the Google Groups. We have the Puppet users, which is the one I have on display here. There's also a developers list and a Puppet raisers list and a Puppet enterprise users list that are available for people to use. We have the classic IRC. The main channels there are Puppet and Puppet Dev, both located on Freenode. We also have our Redmine, which is used for filing tickets, submitting bug reports, feature requests, different things like that. It's not often thought about as being part of the community, but it is a very integral part because sometimes you run into a problem, and if people already have it, there's likely a patch or workaround that's listed in the ticket. Or if you know a workaround, you can get that problem fixed a lot sooner by adding that workaround or the patch to the ticket. Going along with that is GitHub, which is where all the source for Puppet is located at. And if you do actually have a patch, submitting it through GitHub would be the way to go, using a pull request. And you can also find pull requests that haven't yet made it in. So if you have like a problem that's really bothering you, but somebody has fixed it, it's not in the main thing, then you can apply that patch yourself to your local Puppet install. And then we are also active on Twitter, which, you can use it to get support. It's also used for announcements and things like that, or talking to other Puppet users, which can be helpful when tracking things down. Facebook, which is, they've been doing a lot of conference stuff, and this is our support team, or at least a version of our support team. got duplicated somehow. And Puppet is also on LinkedIn, and there's several Puppet user groups on LinkedIn. So if you're trying to find people that are local or that you want to meet with physically, LinkedIn can be a good way to do that. What? Okay, something. So we have a wide variety of tools available within the community, and they basically the community will be what you make of it. So if you want to improve the community, you get active in it. It's what you. That's over the last year, or prior to my working at Puppet Labs, I decided to get very active in the community. It's how I learned Puppet, and so I decided to give back. And through that, I became the subject matter expert on Puppet at my last job, and that's actually how I became or got to where I was able to work at Puppet Labs, through my community involvement and just being active and giving back to the community. This actually went a lot faster than I expected it to. Are there any questions that anybody has on any of the specific tools or? Yes, sir. Oh, would you mind using the mic?
In here, I thought I spoke loud enough. But as a developer, if I have kind of a question about, maybe something that's not a specific question, where would be the best place to go to get help per se? Where would to be a mailing list or a IRC channel?
Would you be like developing like Puppet modules or like adding like custom functions, custom facts, types and providers?
Oh, I'd say even just basic module development per se.
For basic modules, probably either IRC or the mailing list. It kind of depends on how quickly you're wanting an answer. IRC is great for real-time communications. So post your question, and then usually you can get a response in like the next 5 minutes or so. If IRC happens to be asleep, throw it on the mailing list. It's a wider user base, but it's you'll get a less real-time response. But both of those are very good resources for those sort of questions. Yes, sir.
Do you know of any tools that would allow you to gateway some of the information that goes into the mailing list and condense it into something that would then land in the ask.puppetlabs.com as just sort of a pre-answered question? It's a knowledge-based item at that point.
I do not know of anything like that. There's been some discussion as to whether we wanted to do that or not. Google does archive all of the mailing lists, so they are searchable. Mm-hmm. But I don't know of any pre-built tool or any plan to kind of move that in that direction.
Right. I mean, I suppose there'd have to be editing and just other types of things. But do you think that would be a valuable thing to do?
Potentially. It's something definitely we could consider. And speaking of, the Ask site does have a Redmine project. Oh. So if you have an account at the Redmine site, which was projects.puppetlabs.com, you can file that as a feature request.
Okay.
And then we can look into the feasibility of it and what it would take to do that.
Okay, great.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, well, I do apologize for the briefness, but if there's another talk you'd like to go to, you can probably get in and still catch most of it.